topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where for the last 16 years, we have brought you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is our 16th year of bringing these great experts, but this morning's expert, we do a live show the first Wednesday of the month at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Dr. Eldred Taylor also has his own show that I think he does before this show at 9 o'clock Eastern. But I'm going to tell you something. I've been doing this for a long time. We have had all types of experts in the health field. This is without a doubt my favorite show to do. It is the easiest show to do. I have learned so much from Dr. Taylor, and we're going to let you know how you can also learn things that we've learned about from Dr. Taylor. Dr. Taylor with the Taylor Medical Group. Good morning, Eldred.
Hey, how are you doing? Hey, so good to see you. I heard you were a little under the weather last week. I'm glad you're feeling better. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I got to tell you,
Mhm.
I'm a very, I guess I'm a believer. The Lord's the most important thing to me. And with all my heart, I really believe the Lord brought you to this show. The things that you have shared with our audience. And what's so amazing is you started off as an OB-GYN doctor. And look
Yeah.
where you are today. Could you ever have imagined that, Dr. Taylor?
Yeah. No, not at all. I mean, I started out as OBGYN, really just doing what I was taught. Then my wife started having hormone issues. I got interested in bioidentical hormones. We wrote a book called Are Your Hormones Making You Sick? We wrote another book called The Stress Connection. And actually, I went around the country and the world just talking about those two books and all of the information in there, and actually got burnt out. And in
All the
2016,
traveling.
yeah, all the traveling. And then in 2016, my sister passed away. Then, COVID hit. And so I just stopped doing, all of this. And to be honest with you, I felt a little out of touch. And then somehow, some way, you contacted me and asked me if I wanted to be on this show. And I looked at my wife and I was like, should I start this again? Should I start doing this again? And we were kind of iffy about it, but really, I have to give you credit, and that's why I've stayed loyal to you. You really got me
You have.
restarted on the path of doing what I like to do, which is to educate people about
Yes.
health and all that. So, yeah, I think Lord may have brought you to me, and He also brought me to you so that I could kind of get back in the saddle again, because I spent 10 years educating doctors and lay people about this information. And you kind of opened my eyes up for social media. And now I got my own podcast and all these things. So I really appreciate you kind of, picking me up by my bootstraps and then getting me back in the saddle.
It's so much easier than all that traveling too.
Yeah, that's what I realized. Hey, I could do this in another way, and it doesn't tax me like it did previously.
I was just talking to Dr. Taylor right before the show started. We're on 70, maybe even 80 platforms. YouTube is one of the platforms, And it's amazing how I'm seeing your numbers go up. In fact, I sent you a copy of your last
Okay.
show, and it was like something like over 500 viewers just on YouTube.
Okay,
And
good.
I got to tell you, but I know you're a teacher, and I know
Mhm,
you're a spiritual person like myself.
mhm.
And I just want you to know you are touching people out there.
Well, good.
There's so many people, Dr. Taylor, that, their doctors tell them there's nothing wrong with them, and
Yeah,
almost like it's in your head,
yeah,
and
yeah,
what you do, you kind of get all the stuff that other doctors throw out or throw their hands up.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I just
Mhm.
want to say this, you walk the walk. The things that you've done, from your gardening, from your yoga to your trip to Egypt, you
Yeah.
really walk the walk.
Yeah, yeah, I try to be authentic. I always in my office, I tell patients I hardly have ever recommended anything in my office that either me or my wife haven't done ourselves, because we want to really experience what the patient's going to experience. So if we're about to recommend something to the patient, we want to do it first. So to say, okay, here are the problems you might have, or just find out, hey, it doesn't work, and if it doesn't work for me, I'm not going to try and promote it to somebody else. So I do have to walk the walk in order to teach this, because again, people know if you're just talking hype, or if you're really talking something that you really believe in, and you believe in it enough to do it yourself.
What made you put out a publication, Aegis Blueprint? What made you do that?
And this was what I was talking about. I just came up with a moment of clarity about Aza's blueprint. Is that concept came up after I went to Egypt? So I really didn't. I don't know why I picked that name, but when I went to Egypt and I like understood what those hieroglyphs were, how they interpreted them, and I saw the buildings and things that they created, and this is what I came up with, is that we are not more advanced than they are, and that became obvious when I went there. We are not more advanced than them. Is that what I believe is that some of the things that they were able to do, we used to have the ability to do that, but we've lost it over time. And I think we've lost it over time based on how stressed we are, what we eat, how we sleep, all of those, and just how society has conditioned us, that we have lost the ability that those ancient people knew. And how do I know about it? Because they can interpret those hieroglyphs. And I started looking at all these things about these ancient writings, Sanskrit, the Dead Sea Scrolls, all of these things, is that these people knew things that science is only now trying to explain. And just because they couldn't explain it doesn't mean they didn't have that information. And that's what they were trying to do in these old manuscripts and all that. They were trying to give us an ageless blueprint. And we think that we're so advanced, we don't want to look at that information. But that information holds the key that we're just now discovering. So if we could just follow it, it doesn't have to be proven beyond the shadow of a doubt. The proof is that people have lived this way for thousands and thousands of years. And this is why we're here now, is because they knew the blueprint of how to keep the species going. So that's what Aza's blueprint is about. Hey, let's look at some of this old stuff and see if we can't use it, and we can circumvent some of this modern technology stuff. So anyway, so that's kind of my mission statement. Let's look at the old stuff. And there's a statement that someone said, if you want new ideas, read old books. So that's what I'm doing. You read old books to get new ideas.
I like the way you intertwine your Aegis Blueprint with uh, scripture. I love that.
Yeah. The other thing you have to understand is that scripture and the Bible, it has a surface meaning, and then it has a deep meaning. It has almost a universal meaning. meaning. And that's the other thing that I've learned is that the Bible was written for the regular person to understand. But then there were also in ancient times, or earlier times, is that the real meaning were given only to the initiates. There was something called the initiates, and the initiates would understand the deeper meaning of all of the scriptures. Is that, and that's what preachers and pastors do. They try to give you the deeper meaning of a scripture, and all of those scriptures have deeper meanings, more universal meanings. And I believe that's why those deeper meanings, I think those go across all religions. Okay. And we always say, hell, there's Muslims out this, but if you get down to the deeper meaning, they almost all point toward the same direction. We've just coded it, with different religions, but you go underneath in
Right.
the deep, almost all of them are giving you the same values. And that's kind of that ageless blueprint. Don't look at the surface, look at the deep, go back at the beginning and see those original documents before King James or any other person interpreted it. See what the original information says. And I think that's the key, is you have to go back to the beginning. And that's where you find truth. You don't want it to be filtered through a bunch of different translations. And we all played that game where you start out with the message, and by the time it gets around to the other end, it's you don't even realize what the message is. And that's what you have to understand when you're talking about scriptures, is that a lot of the translations are, they may not always capture that deeper meaning. So you always want to go there. All right. So anyway, I don't want to get too
I got to tell you though, I am so addicted to the Ages Blueprint. It's like I can't wait to read your next writing that comes out.
oh,
And tell people how they can get your Ages Blueprint.
yeah. Well, I'm on Substack. Actually, the Ageless Blueprint is really free there. I'm on Substack. It's at ageless.com/Ageless Blueprint. Also, I have a school, SKOOL group, and you'll see it in all my links. Was www.schoolskool.com/ageless, and that's a free community where I give an ageless tip of the day every morning, and I'll usually post some other thing that I may have been learning, or some YouTube video that I saw, whatever. I'll share it with you. But then I also have a $10 a month part that. With there's actually courses. One is called Hormone Clarity, so that you understand your hormones. The other one is called the 5 Pillars of Ageless Living, and the other one's called Mindset Mastery. Just getting your mind right to understand what I'm talking about is, there's deeper meanings to almost everything. So you got to get your mind right to see that. And so that's $10 a month. And then I'm developing something where I'm going to have hormone coaches, because my major interest is in bioidentical hormones and measuring hormones through saliva. And I see that there's so much misinformation out there, and there's so many people who are calling themselves hormone experts, and they're calling them hormone coaches, and they're doing it completely wrong. If they're measuring blood levels, they're doing it wrong. So I want to have an army of people out there telling people how to do it correctly. And if they can have people on social media that's giving misinformation, I can try and recruit people and teach them the right information. So that's one thing I'm going to do. And then we're going to build a VIP level where if someone really wants to go through a real transformation, kind of like what I did when just even starting this all over, kind of recreating yourself, I want to have a VIP level where we talk about the steps you can go through to actually do that. And even at 65, which I am now, is you can start a whole new career in business or whatever you want to do. I've always said I'm going to be the Colonel Sanders of functional medicine, where he started Kentucky Fried Chicken when he was 65, and it became a big, global success. So I hope Ageless Blueprint,
Right.
I won't say I hope, I'm planning on Ageless Blueprint to be like that, is to be a global movement to try and get people to understand that they don't want to be normal. Okay. Normal means that you're in the group of sick people. You want to be healthy. You want to be vital. You don't want to be in that normal range, because normal in this society means sick. And I don't want to keep talking too much, but my Ageless Blueprint podcast this morning was called The Myth of Normal. And this is a
Yes.
book called, it's a
About the
book
lab
called The
work.
Myth of Normal. Yeah. Yeah. It's The Myth of Normal. And what you have to understand about lab work, all they do is they draw blood on people. And mostly time is sick people. Who gets their blood drawn? People who feel like they're sick. So they take all of the blood levels and they put it in a bell-shaped curve. And you have to be 2 standard deviations from the mean in order for you to be qualified as having the disease. And that's how we were taught, is to identify and treat diseases. So if you're not at the ends of the spectrum and you don't qualify for a disease, what happens is we call it a syndrome and give you some medication to cover up the symptom, because you have not qualified for a disease. So we call it chronic fatigue or irritable bowel syndrome, or we call it bipolar or ADHD. But really it is that you're not sick enough to have a disease, but you're not functioning correctly. And so what we want to do is we want to do different tests, because the routine tests are going to always say you're normal if you have a functional problem. So if your routine tests are normal, then you have to do some non-routine tests, like a saliva test, like a food sensitivity test, like looking at a stool test. You can't look in the blood and think you're going to find everything. I gave the analogy on my podcast. It's like, if you've lost your keys, you don't keep going to the same place over and over again looking for your keys, because you've already looked there and you know it's not there. So you have to look somewhere else. So people go and get the routine blood work done over and over and over again, looking for something that's not there. Okay. You have to look somewhere else. You have to look in the gut, look in the saliva, look at different things in the blood. You have to look at some non-routine things if you want some non-routine answers. So anyway, that's my thought process.
Well, I'm reading these. We just got 4 texts basically all asking the same thing. One is, you do telemedicine, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So you
And
can actually, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
they're all basically the same. And talk about what health areas that you work with in your office.
Well, this is what I will tell you. We wrote the book, The Stress Connection, because it said 75 to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians are for stress related complaints or disorders. So we deal with issues of stress, which is 75 to 90% of everybody who comes into the office. So what's connected to stress? Everything. That's what we call it, the stress connection. But this is how we look at it. One, we try to ask you to get rid of the stress. So if it's a relationship, a job, or whatever, get rid of the stress. Number 2, try to change how you respond to the stress. And that's where we talk about meditation and yoga. You're talking about that. The third thing is try to repair the damage caused by the stress. That's where we come in, is that there's all types of damage caused by stress, where we're talking about ED, or you're talking about hormone problems, you're talking about hypertension, you're talking about gut problems. Most of them have a root cause of stress, but you have to repair the damage, piece by piece. You might have to repair the gut with probiotics and some other things, repair the hormones by giving you the hormones that you're not producing. But sometimes the ultimate problem is that your cortisol curve is out of whack. And we also look for that. So when you say, what do? We almost handle any kind of functional medicine problem. If your routine labs are normal, those are the patients we like, because now I know you don't have a disease, and I'm almost sure that you have a functional medicine problem. So I'm almost sure that I can help you once we know that none of your lab work is actually showing that you have a disease. I know you have a functional problem.
How come more doctors, and you are a doctor, how come more doctors don't understand functional medicine?
Because this is, I think the more a doctor stays in practice, the more he begins to understand that a lot of the things that he learned in medical school don't actually work in the real world. So I talked about this on my
Wow.
podcast this morning, is that when we are trained, we are primarily trained in hospital medicine. And what we are really trained to do is who needs to go to the hospital and who doesn't. That was really the goal. And so just think about OBGYN. In GYN, what I would do is I come in and do a pelvic exam over and over and over again until either you had an abnormal pap smear or your fibroids or your endometriosis was so bad until we had to do some kind of surgery or procedure. So you'd come in year after year after year, and I say, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And then all of a sudden, when the fibroid got bigger enough, I was sir. So I was not taught that when I saw a small problem, hey, tell them about changing their diet, measure their hormones through saliva, look at their stress. No, we were just saying, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Now we need to do surgery. You're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Now you have cancer. You're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Now you have diabetes. No, you don't develop those from yesterday to today. Those are a process. And in functional medicine, we try to interrupt the process so you never get to the disease, the surgery, or whatever. So that's the doctors just aren't trained. And if you want to learn it, you have to go outside of medicine to learn it. You really do. And so that's why I'm even trying to develop something called Beyond the White Coat, where I'm teaching physicians this is that let's get beyond the white coat, beyond what you were trained, and let's move into
Okay,
a
there you
higher
go.
realm. Oh, I'm sorry. You lost me?
Hey, I want to get this question in. This is
Okay.
from Charlotte in Charlotte, North
Oh, okay.
Carolina. Wants to know what's the difference between doing a blood test versus a saliva test.
All right. Now, hey, I would tell you to go to my YouTube channel. I can tell you all about that. But here, so let me give you this. If you're Charlotte, have you ever gone into the office and you had a hormone problem and they showed you a blood test that was abnormal? It doesn't happen. Okay, you can have fibroids, you can have endometriosis, you can have irregular bleeding, you can have whatever, and your blood test, if you're premenopausal, is going to say normal, because it is only looking at what is in the blood. It's not looking at what's in the tissue. Only about 1 to 2% of your hormone is actually in the tissue doing what it's supposed to do. The saliva gives you a tissue measurement. That's what you want. The blood is just a highway system taking something from one place to the other. You want to know what is going on at the place where the hormone got delivered. So to make a long story short, blood doesn't tell you anything. I did a residency in OBGYN and we never drew blood levels for hormones because we knew they didn't tell us anything. I didn't learn about saliva testing until my wife started having hormone problems, and I had to look for another way to find the answer. So I had to look at a different type of test. And saliva is the different type of test that I've been using for 25 years. And I know clinically it gives me information that I can use, and we can prove it through repeat testing and using bioidentical hormones and all of those things. So that's what we talk about in the Ageless Blueprint in my Hormone Clarity course. I'll tell you, I can make you an honorary gynecologist, and you can understand everything about your hormones by taking that little simple course.
Well, I got to, first of all, let's tell everybody you do have a show every Wednesday at 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, 9 o'clock
And
Eastern.
you've
Go
got
ahead.
to sign up for the school, www.school, spelled SKOOL. How do they go to your website, Dr. Taylor?
Well, my practice website is www.taylormedicalgroup.net. Okay, taylormedicalgroup.net is my practice website. But my Ageless Blueprint website is ageless-blueprint.com. So it's just a dash in between Ageless and Blueprint. So that has a website also. And I think you can connect to the school and all my links and all of that. So I'd love for you to follow me on Instagram. You can go to, I think it's all my links .com/EB Taylor MD. But I'll have all of that for you. But yeah, I would love for you to follow me. I also do TikTok live at 11 o'clock. I'm at the Hormone Doctor on TikTok, 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. So this is my social media day. I do my podcast, I do your show, and I do TikTok on Wednesdays.
Don't you ever stop doing the dailies, because I am so hooked on those.
Okay, yeah, I do those. Okay. No, the Aces Blueprint, the tip of the day is always, I won't stop that. That's and that keeps me on track. That keeps me thinking that way every day. So it's for you, but it's also for me too.
And we'll be repeating this show next Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern. Dr. Taylor, as always, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll see you in a month. See you in December. Happy Thanksgiving.
Love you, bro.
All right. Thank you. Love you too. All right.
Dr. Eldred Taylor, Taylor Medical Group. We're going to go to a short break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.